All right, welcome into Around the Campus podcast. We are here doing a first. We have Amanda. We getting Amanda up there too? Yeah, Amanda's up there, and she is down in our Florida campus. And Amanda, this is the first time that we've actually done this remotely. So you're all the way down in Florida. I'm all the way up in Connecticut at the corporate headquarters of the CSB Media Arts Center. And we are welcoming Amanda to the podcast today, who actually took the web developer course. That's where you started from, right?
Yep. Yeah.
And how did the course go? How did you like the course?
I liked it a lot. There's an assessment test at the beginning that I did terribly on. And then after the primer workshop and the course itself, I couldn't believe how much I had learned in 8 weeks. It was phenomenal.
All right, so let's go back to the beginning, even before the course started, all right? You're at home, you're researching. How did you stumble upon the CSB Media Arts Center, the Palm Beach Code School website?
I had actually just moved down from Montana. I was sick of not really doing anything to further my career. So I thought, a new adventure. I'm leaving Montana in winter time. I'll come to Florida. And when I started looking around, the Palm Beach Code School was the most affordable school in the area by far. And after the pandemic, they were still offering in-person classes, which I really appreciated. I felt a little lost with the online learning environment.
Right. And so you come into the school, you meet, I would guess, Jim York, the director of that campus. And how did the school seem to you when you first walked in, inviting-wise?
I really enjoyed it. There's a lot of broadcast media stuff around for the CSB programs. So at first that was a little intimidating, but I realized I'm not going to need any of that for the web developer. And it's a very nice location, but I like that it's small because my goal was finding small class sizes. I didn't want to drown in a sea of other people and slip through the cracks. So it was small. They had a great setup, but yeah, I was looking for that sort of close-knit environment.
Right. And how many people were in your class?
There were, I think, 5 of us that would come in person, and then 2 or 3 would join online. And we had someone that actually came back having taken the program and wanted to just come back and review, and that's something they were welcome to do. So.
All right, so you come in for the tour, you talk to Jim, you decide to enroll in our facility down there in the Palm Beach area, and classes start. What did you think of the instructors?
I really liked the instructors. I had one of the main instructors for the primer workshop. He made me feel really comfortable just starting out because I had no direction before that. I knew I wanted to learn to code, but they clearly knew the material. I know they were working privately in the industry and that everything they had to say was up to date. And it was definitely a challenge, but they made sure we were comfortable with the material before throwing practice exercises and projects at us.
Right. So now CSB is in the process of adding other layers to the web developer program, getting into other types of technologies. What technologies did you focus on in the 101 program of the web developer?
We focused on, for the front-end development, the kind of design and what the user's going to see. We did HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and Bootstrap. And then as we moved into the back end, we learned MySQL and PHP and kind of managing databases, that sort of thing. And it was a lot, but I couldn't believe by the end how much I had picked up. It just became instinct after doing all the hands-on practice.
Well, and that's an interesting thing that you talk about, hands-on. I mean, we have the CSB Broadcast Media Program, which we've had for well over 50 years, actually approaching maybe 60 years now, and that's a very hands-on class. And this web developer program is also a hands-on class. What kind of knowledge did you have before starting the program?
I had none. I'd always been kind of the tech person in my family, but I had no previous coding experience. I was trying to find courses online like Codecademy and Udemy, but it was too overwhelming. There was all of these choices, and I didn't know where to start, and I didn't know how to get feedback in real time from people. That's why I wanted the in-person classes, so I could have someone looking at exactly what I was doing while I was doing it. And every class, there were in-class exercises and then take-home projects. And it was always, we were doing the actual coding. It wasn't lecture and then try it on your own by yourself. It was working together and practicing over and over.
Right. And how did it feel? Sometimes people say, oh, learning a new language like Spanish or, a different type of language than you're normal to, can be difficult. How was it for you? Were you scared going into it, but realized it was easier than you expected?
It's funny that you say that, because I did get a bachelor's degree in Russian language, which I then never used.
Okay.
So I was hoping that those kind of language skills would transfer over. And it is kind of like picking up another language, where the grammar rules are actually the syntax of the language and kind of how the program is actually going to run line by line. But it wasn't overwhelming, because it built up step by step. They started us off with the basics and then added new concepts building on that same foundation. And that made it a lot faster than I was expecting to pick up.
Yeah, and I kind of put the web developer program as like building a house. You build the foundation, and then you kind of just keep building on top of it. And what's really kind of cool about it is you get to actually pick a project or pick a site or pick a desired piece of information that you're actually going to build as the program goes on. What did you build for your project?
For the web developer program, I built a website for a fake company that was an English teaching abroad company. So I had all of these features from websites that I had seen before and that I had looked at, but this one I built myself from the ground up, and it actually had the interactivity. Like when you filled out the interest form and pushed a button, it went to a database and I could access that information. It was wild to me that I was able to do that.
I got to say, that's pretty cool. Like you're actually putting together something that's on the web, and you're making it interactive and making it all work. Did you think by the end of the class you were going to be able to get all that done at the beginning?
I did not think that it was going to go as in-depth as it did. I kind of thought for a boot camp style class, it was just going to skim the surface, and then I would be kind of expected to take the reins myself and do a lot of the hard work alone or unsupervised. But that definitely wasn't it. It was just all these little things we were picking up along the way. And then by the time I got to that final capstone project, it just all came together, and I could do all of these features that I'd interacted with so much. But yeah, I never would have imagined that I could make it as complex as I was able to.
Right. And how did you find the instructors guiding you along the way, as far as being helpful and in their knowledge?
They were all really knowledgeable. You could tell that they were masters of all of the languages that we were practicing. But of course, in the classroom, they were very interactive and popping around to our computers or looking at the screens that were shared of people online. But even outside of class time, if I sent an email with a question, it didn't go unanswered for more than a couple hours at a time.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the biggest differences between our school and maybe another school is that we actually can you're more one-on-one with your instructor. There's not 100 people in the classroom. There's not 100 people online. So you get a little bit more one-on-one time with the instructor to help you through issues. And if you hit like a roadblock, you have somebody to work with to get you to the other side.
That's definitely what it felt like. And the instructors were always encouraging us. If we as a group really were struggling with something, they would offer extra help sessions on different nights of the week or weekends, and they wanted us to just all kind of pool together and find a good time that worked for all of us. And then they would do an extra help session that was no extra charge to me. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, no, that is pretty cool. So somebody's walking down the street. They ask you, hey, where did you learn how to do coding? What would you say to that person as far as advice for a place to go to for education in web development?
I would definitely recommend the Palm Beach Code School. It's the best bang for your buck out there. And our director here, other Jim, is constantly checking out what other courses are teaching, what skills are in demand in the job market, and updating the course as needed. And I think even now in the area, we're one of the very few boot camps that teach PHP at all. And that one is in a lot of web developer job listings. So for the value and for what it's going to introduce students to, I would definitely recommend the Palm Beach Code School.
Cool. So you actually, another first here at the Around the Campus podcast, you also took the actual app development program. So we're talking to Amanda. She took the web developer program, and she also enrolled in the app developer program. So Amanda, what made you think about even exploring the app development program?
Well, it started, the first semester of it started right as I was ending the web developer program, and it was this new technology called Ionic that can deploy to both Android and iOS with barely any changes in the code. And I was definitely really interested in that. And some of the other technologies like Angular and React were things that I was seeing in some of the job postings for web developers that we didn't get to in the web developer program, but there was definitely a demand for them out there. And I had liked the web developer program so much, honestly, that I wanted to stick around and see what else there was.
So you enroll in the app developer program, and so what other technologies are a part of that program? What other pieces of technology are you using?
It was a very logical step, or I guess next step for me, because the technologies we were using in the front end of the web developer, HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, are what Ionic uses to be able to deploy to those devices. So it was very JavaScript heavy. The programming side of it was a challenge, but again, it was kind of, I didn't notice how much I was picking up as I was going along until I started some of the assignments where I was working on my own, and everything was just kind of fitting together. And it was just those three languages from the front end, HTML, CSS, and JavaScript.
So give a broad overview of what the app developer course is. What are you actually doing in the app developer program for somebody who might be interested in that program?
That one is hands-on as well. It's all project-based. So we kind of started with smaller in-class projects to get the concepts down, and then expanded to more and more complicated features of apps and using native device features. Like personally for my capstone, I used my own phone's camera to be able to take pictures and then upload them to a database that way. But yeah, by my final project, the instructor had an iOS device. I had an Android. We downloaded the exact same code to both, and it ran perfectly in both platforms. I was really impressed by that.
Oh, that's cool. And what did you work on for your project?
I worked on a coordinating app where there was a feature of adding checklist items, removing checklist items, being able to use the camera, being able to bounce around. And one thing I really liked about Ionic is on either device, everything felt native. I had a trash can item for deleting checklist items that on the iOS device showed up as the Apple trash can, on my Android showed up as the Android one, but it was the exact same code, and Ionic kind of took care of the design aspect for me that way. And yeah, I was really impressed with how smoothly it ran. Wow.
So you took a 16-week course in web developer. You took a 16-week class in app development. Did you think out of, what is that, 32 class sessions? No, it's more than that. 16 and 16. Yeah, 32 weeks. Did you think you were going to get as much as you got when you first stepped in the building?
Definitely not. I did the traditional 4-year liberal arts bachelor's degree, and I was still amazed. In a matter of weeks, I was learning practical skills and being able to see all of the results happening right in front of me as I was learning. I felt like there was so much packed into it, but I wasn't overwhelmed by the workload at the same time. There wasn't a frantic rush to study for all my finals or anything, but I still wound up with 2 really cool projects by the end of both.
Well, thank you very much for being a part of our Around the Campus podcast, and thank you for having us be the first remote person guest that we've had on the podcast. And good luck to you, and I hope to have you back on where you can talk to us about things that you're doing in the business. But congratulations for being a web developer graduate, and also now you just graduated, last week, right? The app developer program. That's great. Well, you have a great day. Thank you so much for being a part of us, and we'll talk to you soon.
Sounds good.